Those are naughty thoughts!
No.
This episode might be a little bit more of an introspective one, so, sorry. I'll still be bye doing that, though. So there's this little controversy that's going on right now about this article in The Times, and they interviewed this guy, Jordan Peterson, who's, I don't know. I honestly, originally, when I first started hearing about this guy, 4 or 5 years ago when he was popping off, I was like, this kind of seems like a fad. Like, nobody rockets into this sort of popularity. What would you call it? Like fame? Like internet fame? This fast and lasts this long. But he's still going strong. And in fact, his new book, he's writing a new book. It's already #1. It's still in pre-order. And it's already a #1 bestseller on Amazon. So my man is in first place for the hardcover in philosophy and ethics and morality. Guess who's #2? The Pope. I'm the Pope, you better buy my book or I break a you face. And then in the #3 spot, also Jordan Peterson's new book, the softcover version. So I guess there's 2 things I want to talk about that make this actually pretty interesting. And one is the kind of reception of this article from his fans, which is, of course, hilarious. The other thing, I think there is I think there's something useful to take out of this arc of this guy. I wanted to read you, you have to know for the story that he has a daughter who basically is kind of his manager or something, kind of. She's a character, and you got to know that for the story. So I'll read you a quote, and this is from the article that this woman, I'll try to find her name, female writer for The Times. This is a quote from her article. This is the best quote, I think, from the whole thing. After 80 minutes on Zoom, the one thing of which I'm certain is that, were I as close to death as she assures me her father repeatedly was, this is not the person I would entrust with saving my life. She kind of burns his daughter Michaela there a little bit. Unrecognizable from the ordinary-looking brunette from photos just a few years ago, Michaela today is a glossy, pouting Barbie blonde.
Bad Barbie, bad Barbie, bad Barbie.
And talks with the zealous, spiky conviction of a President Trump press spokesperson. So I read this whole article and I listened to, because of course, the person who wrote this article, they got everything wrong. According to the followers of this guy Peterson, they got everything wrong. They totally misinterpreted what he said. So he went and uploaded the entire recording. But I felt sorry for the Michaela burn originally that this reporter did. But then I remembered this video.
I thought I'd throw up my opinion on the coronavirus situation. I've decided that the government should realistically reopen businesses. So that's #1. We need to reopen the country. I think that the dangers far outweigh the benefits and that this is a really stupid thing to do.
And what's even more just bizarre about this is if you listen to this recording that they uploaded, his daughter, Michaela Peterson, is so obsessed with illnesses and taking care of illnesses and treatment and all this stuff. Except if it's you, then you got to get your ass back to the Hop Dottie to serve Michaela her burgers, or back behind that Starbucks thing to give her macchiatos. But if it's her or her dad, then then we got to know all the minutia of all this medical stuff and all these treatments and all this stuff. But as far as you getting sick from a pandemic, not too concerned about that for some reason. Very odd. So originally felt kind of sorry for Michaela, but then I remember that video and I was like, they kind of let her off easy. And I have to say, also, while we're on this note, this guy Peterson is kind of known as he's an anti-leftist. These leftists are out of control.
I am no fan of the radical left.
And I'm reading this article, about him. It's mostly about him dealing with illnesses and mental illnesses and him dealing with his wife's illness and all this stuff. I'm thinking what's the leftist policy? What's the main, if you had to think, what do left-leaning people in the United States always drone on about?
It seems indisputable, I would say, that the Canadian healthcare system is preferable to the American healthcare system, except at the very highest end.
So that's pretty frustrating. Like a guy who's like super popular for being like, these leftists out of control. Well, what about the one leftist policy? Oh, that I like. That I actually like.
But I just want people to have health care.
I felt myself like feeling sorry for him when I was listening to that recording, because he's just like recounting like, I'm having a really hard time. That's basically the entire summary. I'm having a really hard time. I'm really upset, and things have not been going well for me for a really long time. So I kind of just, felt myself feeling really sorry for this guy. So I'm not going to dunk on him. I'm not going to dunk his head in the proverbial turlet.
Flushing toilets. Flushing toilets.
But I do want to look at some of his fans, because it's just like, it's always been bizarre, like his relationship with his fans, but it's still going. It's still going strong. And there's like almost 4,000 comments on this article, and they're all like this. This is absolutely horrible. Thankfully, the world is changing and information is getting less hampered by distortions like this. This performance around the suffering of another person is exactly the effect of, quote, shadow domination, unquote, about which Carl Jung, our boy, Carly Jung, as I call him. I don't know why, because I'm a very stupid guy. Continually warned. Therapy would be... Oh, here we go. Therapy would be very good for this interviewer. So there was a post you can see here. Looks like they took it down. This post violated our policy, but I actually copied it. So here it is. Decca Aitkenhead. I don't know how to read her name, but she's the author of the piece. The Piece in the Times. Decca Aitkenhead is the embodiment of toxic femininity. This infects the majority of women in the West. This infects the majority of women in the West these days. So not the East. Like if you're in Japan, it's cool. Women are cool there, actually. Why do you think there are so many women in their 30s who want to get married but can't? Why? Because in other words, these broads are out of control. Heard the interview, and now I read this, and I just can't see how can you possibly go from that to this. Interviews like this are the reason why people don't pay attention to this anymore. Glad that Peterson recorded the full story. And I'm just like, what? Because I read the article, I paid the stupid Times, whatever this garbage paper is. I got past their paywall to read this, and I listened on 1.75x. Okay? It's a little long-winded, that entire upload of that audio. I listened to both, and the article is basically just this author transcribed that Zoom call with his quotes. That's pretty much it. I mean, she does do some little commentary. Here, I'll give you an example of that. Here we go. Here's the author's commentary. Maybe they really were the cause of all his problems. What is she talking about again? Oh, he was taking benzos. Maybe they were really the cause of all his problems. The more he talks, though, the more I wonder whether toxic masculinity might have been a culprit too. His family history of depression might tell us something about the price to be paid for his bootstrap philosophy. That, when life becomes excruciatingly stressful, Peterson's stand up, man up, suck it up mentality didn't work. That's harsh, right? Okay? That's a little bit harsh, but that is what we call a fair criticism. Okay? That's a fair criticism. There's nothing out of context. There's no misconstrued, blah, 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 anything like that. She's just observing, like, hey, maybe all this, like, trying to be tough when that's not really what's called for, made things worse. Like, you gotta appreciate the comedy of this guy. You can go on YouTube and you can find tons of videos that have been being uploaded for years and years about, like, life is going to throw you some real challenges, some hard challenges. Your boss is going to tell you to shut up and drink toilet water. And those are the times when you have to show your true character and all this kind of stuff. Yet, a newspaper writes a mildly critical article, and his fans have a complete meltdown in the comments. And by the way, like, writers can do this. She puts right here, the more I wonder. That indicates this is a thought that I have. You might not like it. You might think she's being a total B, but there's nothing misconstrued or blah, blah, blah about this. The other thing I saw when I was, reading about this story was I saw a lot of posts from people, I guess his fans, that were like, or like right-wing sites like Blaze, like those people who are blazing up over at the Blaze, it's all just bongs and they're just ripping bongs all day. I guess that's why they named it that. But they're like, oh, this paper is so misleading. They say that he has schizophrenia. And I was like, whoa, that's pretty bad journalism if they're just like barfing up that some guy has schizophrenia if he doesn't. And then I read it, and here's what it says. He was hospitalized for his own safety and then diagnosed with schizophrenia. That's the first mention. Peterson transferred to a public hospital in Toronto in November, getting that free healthcare. Ooh, you like that, don't you? In Toronto in November, where he was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Diagnosed. And then I listened to the call, and she said this. His daughter said this. She says that he was misdiagnosed, which means that the doctor gave a diagnosis. The two doctors, apparently, gave diagnosis that she didn't agree with, basically. So, I don't know. To me, I don't know about you, okay? But to me, when I hear a bunch of people defending someone like this, who's kind of the leader, who he's great, this guy's great, and he's the leader, and he's the dear leader, I get my cult alarm goes off pretty heavily. This is what my cult alarm sounds like.
Bad Barbie.
But this is pretty culty to anybody who questions or doesn't all praises due to Allah and the great leader. You have to sign up on an account for a paywalled newspaper to express that this is very unfair. And I've read a lot about cults and stuff, but this little article, and yes, this is a Psychology Today article written by kind of a wacky dude, but this explanation makes total sense to me. Like, this totally clicks. And I'll read you some of this. So he's talking about something that he calls self-soothing prejudices, where it's basically, and everybody does this. I do this, everybody does this, where they're just like, yeah, that person or those people, they're wrong. That's bad. No, I'm not gonna pay attention to that. Keep bulking up. I'll read this from the article. This is from an article. I'll put a link. Keep bulking up on the efficient ways to discount threatening people, and soon you're engaged in absolute self-soothing prejudice. Think of it like having a deck of trump cards that you carry everywhere. Anytime you feel threatened by someone's success, just pull out a trump card. Any will do. Where can you get a deck of trump cards? Many people get them from cults. All cults issue decks to their supporters. That's a cult's appeal. It's why people are willing to be brainwashed.
This is something I have a lot of problems with.
And look, I know we're getting deep here. We're getting really deep into
Toilets.
But I actually got something out of this, because if you think about this, if you're always trying to like trump card everybody, if this becomes out of control, everything feels like a threat to your ego. Like, how do you improve as a person at all? How do you improve as a person? How do you have meaningful relationships? How do you have fun? People throw all into cults so they can keep all self-doubt out. And to me, this comes back to my beautiful idea that is the center of my cult, which is cringe herd immunity. The idea of cringe herd immunity. Now we're getting into really deep
Toilets.
But I think also when you live in like a hyper competitive, hyper like narcissistic, individualistic society, all this stuff is like way amplified because people feel more threatened. They feel more status anxiety and all this stuff. So ironically, interestingly, the type of, individualism, like extreme individualism that Peterson is always talking about, is in a way contributing to people needing to join his cult, basically. And I don't think that there shouldn't, I don't think that there should not be individuals or anything like that. But I think like this is what happens when this stuff becomes extreme, when it's people are super, super competitive, super individualistic, super narcissistic. You end up with this stuff. So guys, I'm really sorry if this was a heavier episode.
So let me explain something to you. No.
So are you gonna say, are you guys gonna stay subscribed after this?
So let me explain something to you. No.
Oh man, come on, please.
No.
I mean, is there anything I could do to get your subscription back?
No.
Oh man. So where should I put my head? What should I put my head into then?
Toilets.
So there we go. I really hope this guy does feel better and things work out for him, even though I disagree with pretty much everything he says. Hope he's okay. And his daughter's a kook. She's a bit of a
Bad Barbie.
But we love her. We love to see it, don't we, folks?
Bye-bye.
And thanks for watching. I love everybody out there.
Love you guys.
And please don't forget to be
Flushing toilets.
Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, and thanks so much for watching this video. Like all the other YouTube and podcast perverts, I now have a Patreon. Every week on this Patreon, I'm uploading 2
Exclusive.
Patreon exclusive shows. They're like real shows, more produced, more edited. One of them is a behind the scenes show where I reveal all the secrets and YouTube scams that I'm doing. And the other one, I just reveal my innermost dark, cringe secrets.
And at the top level,
you can even become a producer of the show and get your name handwritten, hand art, hand drawn at the end of every episode. So if that's something that you are interested in, check it out
on Patreon.
I'll put a link in the, what is the thing called, in the description, I guess. So thank you so much, even if you don't. Thanks for watching this video. I know it's hard to get through these things, but I appreciate you.
Also, if you have questions or comments or anything, visit the subreddit at /RMBrown. This show would be absolute garbage without the producers: Eden Joy, Derek Stoker, Apollo Crow, Liz, Martin Lee, Chelsea G, Derek Jesus Christ Wilson, Matt Woe, Sebastian Delgadillo, Charlotte Glass, CEO of the Muscular Class, Beth Van Diver,
I'm sorry about that, Beth. You know I love you.
Ray Anthony Cox, Kevin G. Galuski. Oh, who's that? Oh, it's Mac. It's Mac. You know it's Mac. You can tell it's him. Krill Will. And we got D-Pad Chad. Carl Hockmuth. Or Hotchmuth, sorry, I don't know. And Terza. Last but not least, Terza. Thank you to these beautiful, gorgeous, muscular, soaked up, showering probably 10 to 11 times a day producers. If you guys didn't exist, this show would be a piece of garbage. Trash. Basically doo-doo. Sewer doo-doo. So thank you and we love you.